Joins us now. It's time for the Daily Take with Geraldo Rivera. Yeah, it's interesting, right? How's it going? We've talked before about crypto. I know I kind of have an idea what you think about it, but I want to talk about it again, and I want to talk about AI and all these data centers. You see on the bottom of the screen, Don Jr. Donald Trump Jr.
I'm holding my nose.
I know. I interviewed Don Jr. a little over a year ago about all the crypto stuff because there were questions even then about potential conflicts with the company and his brother and Howard Lutnick's children are running and what that means for this president. But here's part of that conversation that we'll relate it to today. This was last year. He does benefit financially from your enterprise.
Well, he has ownership, but he doesn't touch it, right? That's all walled off. Eric and I are the signatories on that. We manage the trust. We don't talk to him about it. He doesn't, get involved in that. But he did say and ran on a campaign that he was going to be an active proponent for crypto.
And he has been. And now he's talking about, how much you regulate this and other industries that he's been an active proponent of. Anyway, you were holding your nose.
I'm holding my nose because in a press conference of that magnitude, talking about something as controversial as crypto, I can't believe that the first question wasn't a biting attack that says, well, President Trump, you've made over $1 billion personally by your dealings in crypto, while your investors have lost $4 billion at the same time. How does that sound fair? The fact that Don Jr. told you in your excellent interview, Connell, that, the family is so-called walled off by it. How could it be, walled off when you're making $1 billion? I'm not sure how big that wall has to be before it seeps into your consciousness. So I think that, I take it with a grain of salt. Crypto, to me, is still a scam city. I have no idea still how it works, what they're selling. There's no national bank backing it, no gold in Fort Knox, supporting it. What is it exactly? And now, so I think that why is the Clarity Act stalled in the Senate? It's stalled in the Senate because people are getting, I am assuming that people are, are conflicted about it because they're making money dealing it, and they don't want clarity. They want obscurity, Connell.
There are all kinds of arguments in favor of the industry as a legitimate investment, maybe even as an alternative currency in the future. We've heard all of those arguments. It does not necessarily erase the discussion, though, about the conflicts that we're talking about with this administration. And then you start to talk about whether you're going to regulate that industry, and that's when you get into AI, because these data centers are turning into a huge political issue. President says that they're good for the economy. They're going to drive jobs and that kind of thing. But I also think he made an interesting comment. He's clearly been looking at the polls on this. So here's what he said about AI and that event that we just covered last hour. Listen.
If I were the mayor of a town or the governor of a state and I had a chance to get a big plant in, an AI plant or a data center, I would absolutely want it. If you don't take it, you're going to be left behind because there are plenty of places that want it. So I would say that maybe it can use a little public relations help.
Yeah, I probably could, that last part, because now people in both parties are pretty angry about it. I wonder how much it hurts Republicans or if it hurts them in the midterms.
I think Sherrod Brown, who lost in his bid to be reelected last term, is running again for election after to the guy that took over Bernie Moreno's seat, John Husted, his name is. I'm telling you, Sherrod Brown can win this election. It's a tie right now, statistically, just on the public's opposition to AI data centers. They are so freaked out about it here, Connell, that here in Cleveland, modest mid-American city, where everybody, got online for these data centers in town as a way to, take up vacant lots or in some other way help the community. Now, the AI data centers are like nuclear waste sites. I mean, they are really so toxic that the Republican incumbent could lose the election based strictly on public opposition in Ohio to these AI data centers. The moratorium in Cleveland is being reflected in other communities. New York State, Texas, Pennsylvania, others have versions of this. This is really going to be the stink pot. This is going to be the transsexual crossover athlete immigrant of the last cycle.
So you're there. You're in Ohio, right? And that Senate race is very important.
I'm here where there's a moratorium.
I guess I would ask you, this question is like, when the president or any Republican makes the argument in favor of these, and the argument in favor, we know it's like, hey, listen, we need this. It's growing the economy. The stock market's through the roof, largely because of AI now for months, if not years. And you're going to get jobs when you build these data centers in the short term, because they got to hire people. You're saying that's not resonating not only with Democrats, but now also with Republicans or independents?
No.
Not at all.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. As far as I can see, Republicans are almost as vehement in their opposition as the Democrats.
Really?
The Republicans, though, are lagging in terms of taking the advantage of the fact that the public is so queasy about these. Who wants the power drain and the sucking up the water and, the jobs that they create? They create jobs when they put up the thing, but once it's up there, there's no more construction. What's the job then? The job is going to some robot or something in these centers. So I think that there's a very, very rocky road ahead for these data centers, and I think that as I sit here right now, I think this is the biggest issue of these midterms.
It's really interesting how fast it's happened. I would have thought for 28, for the presidential election, top issue. I didn't know in 26 if it would resonate as much as like inflation and quote unquote affordability, but I think you're onto it. It is, especially in some of these key races like Ohio. Thank you, Geraldo.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.